basically, I was on my pioneer kick when I was like 14, 15. So, as I mentioned in my previous videos, that I spent a lot of time with pioneers. I spent a lot of time with older friends in the congregation, because I didn't want to be home alone. I was the only child and I was bored and I didn't want to be by myself. So, I didn't really have a lot of friends my age because a lot of them were either like leaving the truth or said they didn't want to be a witness anymore or was a worldly witness, and I just at the time didn't want to associate with them. Like that wasn't what I was on at that time. I wanted to be a pioneer. So there was an older brother. He was maybe 6 or 7 years older than me. So for some reason I remember being 18 and him being 25. Like he was older than me. We weren't close enough in age for us to be in high school at the same time. I was in middle school and he had graduated high school from what I remember. So that would make him like 7, 8 years older than me, maybe. I'm not really sure of our age gap, but I know it was more than 4 or 5 years. So he was a nerdy guy, geeky, so I think he was able to get away with the stuff that he did with me because he was nerdy. But if he was like a suave brother, if he was someone with some swag, I don't think he would have been able to get away with the amount of time we spent alone together. No one in my Kingdom Hall like even questioned it. So he would pick me up before I had my license. He would pick me up for field service in the morning, during the summertime, and take me to the group, and we'll just spend a lot of time together, like tons of time together. Especially if I'm going out in service every day during the summer, 3 or 4 times a week. He would pick me up all those times and take me to the hall. In addition to that, we also were in the same book study group. So I'll see him meeting on Sunday. I see him at the meeting on Tuesday, and then I would see him on the book study on Thursday. So I was with this man like 5 or 6 days a week. It was a lot of time we spent together, and it was inappropriate. Looking back on it, like I liked him, but the age gap was just too inappropriate. I remember I telling my aunt recently about the situation. She was like, "Oh yeah, I remember complaining about your relationship to your mom, but your mom didn't like seem to care." And honestly, I think it was just because he was geeky and he was nerdy, and like people didn't take him seriously, unfortunately. But that's how people fall into like some weirdness with like abuse, child abuse. So I was surprised even the brothers even allowed us to be in a car by ourselves. But I guess because our age gap was so big that people didn't think that he was interested in me. So, we would talk with each other, we'd hang out with each other, and the years would go by. So we did this up until I turned 18. So 2 years passed, I turned 18, and then he starts really trying to get closer to me. So I remember we would have like this running group where we would go to the park and we'll go exercise one night out of the week as a group. And I remember it would be like 5 of us. And one night, no one came except it was just me and him. So we spent like maybe a couple of hours just talking to each other. Now, remind you, I'm 18 and he's 25. And so basically he admitted to me in that moment that he liked me. And I just couldn't really get past his geekiness. And reflecting on it, he was friends with another brother who was in his 30s, and he dated another sister that was 20. And basically, I feel as if he groomed her as well, because again, this is a man that has seen this girl as a teenager. He was grown, he was in his 30s, and then fast forward when she becomes of age, he wants to date her, and then they get married. So he was friends with that brother. So when it came to me, I think actually he was trying to do the same thing with me. He was trying to, clean me before I got out to the witness world and met other people. He was just trying to, claim his territory. So, you know, I told him honestly, I'm like, listen, I got things I want to do. I got places I want to go. I want to do different things. And I don't know if I necessarily want to be locked down into a marriage, because in the Jehovah's Witness world, you have to be, you know, thinking about marriage if you're going to date someone. So we've always still maintained our friendship. From my perspective, I thought we were always cool. I thought he understood that. But fast forward maybe like 4 years afterwards, he starts dating another sister. I realized he wasn't cool with me. He was upset with me because I turned him down. And when his wedding came along, and I remind you, we never kissed, we never dated, we didn't do anything. You know, when his actual wedding came along, he didn't invite me to the wedding, nor my mother. Now, he went from like coming to my house all the time, you know, hanging out with me and my family included. He was always around us, you know, to now being engaged to this sister and then like completely cutting me off. And I had his friend was my friend's older brother. So when I say there's an age gap, there's a big age gap. So when I asked his friend when he was getting married, so at this point I'm like 21, maybe 21, 22. At this point I asked his friend, I said, you know, why didn't he invite me to his wedding? Like, I thought we were great friends. And he was like, oh, well, in his mind, we dated. So he did not kiss this man. I did not touch this man. We spent a lot of time in the ministry together. We spent a lot of time at the hall together. He studied with family members of mine. Somehow in his brain, it registered to him that we dated. And since we dated in his brain, he didn't want to invite me to his wedding because he felt like that would have been inappropriate. Like, trying to figure out in my head, like, when did he ever ask me out? You know? My husband kind of did the same thing where, like, he said we were dating and he never even asked me out. Like, why do guys do that? Like, why do they imagine in their brain that we're dating and never formally ask me if we're dating, you know? Or ask the woman if they're dating. And I'm like, so when he told me that, I was really confused. And it got to the point where when his wedding actually came up, people were asking me and my mom, like, oh, okay, we'll see you at the wedding later. Or we'll see you next week at the wedding. And I'm like, oh, I'm not invited. And it would be an audible gasp. It would be like, you're not invited? Because people knew that we were close. We were friends. And then when his wedding came around, he totally dismissed me. Found a woman, and I never really spoke to him again after that. See him at the assembly, whatever, say hi. But he just totally, like, destroyed a friendship. But then, so I told, when I got reproved my last time, and then I stopped going to the hall, I told one of my friends who was disfellowship and haven't spoken to him like years, and I told him what he had done to me. And he informed me that when he was younger, and he said he had to be like under 10, that this same brother that was interested in me, remind you, he's 7-8 years older than us, exposed himself to him while they were out in service. I think it's such a blessing that I didn't date him, because I don't think, even though they were young, he was still old enough to know that was inappropriate. Like, and he did it out in service. And then I said, well, what did the elders do? Like, but they never even took it to the brothers. They never reported him. That's early signs of like some mental issues that you need to address. I mean, they were both kids, but like one was drastically older than the other. And then the repetition of him trying to, you know, date me when I'm a teenager and get me married while he's a grown man, you know, is just terribly inappropriate. I don't know. I feel like sometimes with witnesses, we write things off as just being, you know, they grew up as witnesses, so they're socially awkward or they're just a little different. But in reality, some of these people in the hall got mental issues. And we keep writing it off to just, you know, them being focused on Jehovah or them being focused on the Bible, but they need therapy. And I don't know where in his mind he thought it was okay for him to try to talk to a sister that was 7-8 years younger than him. And where in the mind of my congregation to protect me from that, like, and I hate to say, even my mom, she wasn't even really protecting with that either. Like, it was because he was geeky. I know for a fact it was because he was geeky and he just got away with it. But that's an issue and that's dangerous. And the fact that he did that to my friend and exposed himself, like, made me just look at the whole situation from a new perspective. So, you know, that is my grooming story. I don't know. It's not as dramatic or, you know, it could have been worse. I could have married him. I could have dated him, but I was smart enough to be like, nah, that's not going to work for me. So, on to the next video.